My people are brainwashed. The stories of North Korean women who fled the country. Subscribe to our channel for more informative videos like this. It has been common practice in Japan to refer to North Korean fishing boats as ghost ships. In the year 2017, a total of 104 vessels of this type washed up on the western coast of Japan. According to information provided by the Japanese Coast Guard, 66 vessels were discovered 2 years ago. The bodies of North Korean nationals were frequently discovered either on board or alongside the boats in which they were being held. Analysts believe that the surge in North Korean vessels that have washed ashore is a direct result of the food shortages that have occurred in North Korea as a direct result of the tighter restrictions that have been placed on North Korea in recent years. These ghost ships, along with the numerous missiles that North Korea has fired over Japanese territory, do not fit into the choreographed diplomacy that North and South Korea performed during the opening ceremony of the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. Kim Yo-jong, sister of Kim Jong-un, sat just meters away from South Korean President Moon Jae-in during the ceremony. North Korean defectors currently living in Japan are aware that smile diplomacy is nothing more than a charade. And the news tales about ghost ships bring back bitter memories of food shortages and hardship for them. At a shopping center in a suburb of Tokyo, I run into Aiko Kawasaki, who is 75 years old. It is the kind of location that she had no idea existed until she made her way to Japan more than 10 years ago. The events of Kawasaki's life read like a suspenseful Orwellian novel. She was born in Japan in 1942 to Korean parents who had moved there during Japan's annexation of Korea, which at the time was a unified country. Right after the war, Japan's economy wasn't doing well, and us Seinichi, ethnic Koreans living in Japan, had the least favorable position in society. She adds, there were a lot of prejudices against us. After the Korean War, the leadership in the north of the country began a repatriation campaign in an effort to bring Koreans who were residing in other Asian countries back to their homeland. I only knew communism from my textbooks, Kawasaki adds. I had no personal experience with it. Since Japan was in a state of economic hardship at the time, this presented an excellent opportunity to gain first-hand experience with communism. On top of that, the leadership of North Korea pledged that everything, including housing, healthcare, education, and even clothing, would be provided at no cost. I went by myself, and my family would follow a little bit later. Kawasaki took a boat to get there, which was the mode of transportation for approximately 93,000 other Seinichi, and he vividly remembers arriving at the wharf. People screamed to us that the promises of free food and healthcare were all lies. They said that the promises were made by the government. They would yell, "Go back," in response, but we were unable to. The fact that Kawasaki was unable to go back to Japan because the government of North Korea would not let her was the most unfortunate aspect of the situation. She was a captive of the tyrannical regime in North Korea at this point. Kawasaki made the decision to lead as normal a life as she could for the time being. She put in a lot of effort in school and eventually acquired a degree in engineering. After that, she got a decent job, got married to a North Korean man, and had 5 children. When that happened, the real struggle had just begun. I was unable to convey to my family that life outside the house was incomparably superior. They could have filed a complaint against me with the government. If I continued to speak negatively against the government, I could wind myself in jail. And although I had no idea what my children were thinking, I am certain that they were indoctrinated in school. Her children learned not to trust anyone or anything other than the party and their dear leader, Kim Jong-il, as they grow up. I didn't have the courage to talk with them about my life in Japan or my desire to leave North Korea, she said. It would have been inappropriate. One day, I received the realization that I needed to get away. My spouse had already passed away, and at this point, I would rather die within North Korea than continue to live there any longer. She did not let her children in on her plot to flee, and they did not ask her about it. Doing so meant either exposing them to the possibility of betraying me or making them an accessory to my wrongdoing. It wasn't a question of whether or not I trusted them. Rather, it was a question of whether or not I was prepared for the worst. Since then, just one of her 5 children has taken the same choice to escape from North Korea as their mother did. "We are neighbors in Tokyo," she says with a huge grin on her face. "However, I am concerned about the well-being of my other 4 children. I had not been able to get in touch with either of them for more than a year, up until November of 2017. I was relieved to get a letter from them in November, which let me know that everything is going well for them." I meet another North Korean woman named Mitsuko in a quiet neighborhood of Tokyo. She is with a Japanese NGO worker named Hiroshi Kato, who offers help to female defectors for an organization called Life Funds for North Korean Refugees. Because we respect Mitsuko's desire for privacy, we have altered her name. The 47-year-old woman fled to Japan in 2011, and in contrast to Kawasaki, she quickly became aware that her decision to flee had repercussions for the people she was forced to leave behind. "As I was making my getaway, my brother-in-law was taken captive, tortured, and ultimately killed in jail. Another brother-in-law was terminated from his work as the director of a large hospital." Kato, who is standing next to Mitsuko, gives a slight nod. "It is imperative that you comprehend that the North Korean dictatorship is obsessed with maintaining control over its own people, because that is the system in which they live." This helps to understand why she continues to have anxiety while she is in Japan. During our conversation, which is taking place at a fast food restaurant, she nervously looks around the room. The constant fear that she experienced throughout her childhood in North Korea never truly went away. She says that in North Korea, there is a policy that is referred to as the 3-generation rule. This indicates that an entire family may be held accountable for the actions of a single member who has committed a crime. It is one of the most serious offenses if you betray your country. When Mitsuko was a kid, she was always curious about what it was like to live anywhere other than North Korea. "I dreamed of a life outside of North Korea," she recalls now. "I wanted to escape. I was aware that I was leading an unusual existence. My memories of that place don't include any instances of joy. Her childhood classmates were afraid to criticize North Korea in any way, and she quickly realized that discussing politics was a dangerous endeavor." Last but not least, what does Mitsuko think of North Korea's attempt to win hearts and minds during the Olympics? "The regime of North Korea will never give up on their goal of completing a missile that is capable of delivering a nuclear warhead, so that they may launch an attack against the United States. There are American military bases located here in Japan, and there is no question in my mind that they will at some point attempt to attack those objectives. We have no choice but to put an end to this tyrannical regime." This brings us to the end of the video. Subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this.